Hi everyone, welcome to Eco Learning Classes. This is Professor Geeta Mahesh. Dear students, today we will be discussing with respect to deficit reduction. What is deficit reduction? Reducing government borrowing. When government is going to borrow. When government is going to borrow? When government expenditure is greater than government revenue. In that case, government need to borrow. So here, when the borrowing keeps on increasing, then it will be a burden on whom? Government. Because along with a debt, they have to pay interest. So it will be a heavy burden on government. Now, what are the suggestions or what are the measures that government has adopted in order to reduce a government deficit? Government can reduce its deficit by increase in tax or reduction in government expenditure. See here what I told. What is deficit means? When there is a shortage of funds for spending, government expenditure is greater than government revenue, right, Makla? So now either you have to reduce expenditure or you need to increase the revenue. Or at a time, if you do both the things, easily, quickly you can achieve the balance between government expenditure and government revenue. In this way, you can reduce a deficit. So, government deficit can be reduced by an increase in taxes or reduction in expenditure. Government has been trying to increase tax revenue with a greater reliance to direct tax. So they are trying to increase the tax revenue through direct taxes. And at the same time, an attempt to raise receipts through sale of shares in the public sector units. Government has established so many units of our production units, that means industries. Now government is going to unload those shares, that means they are selling shares to private people. So when they sell, they receive money. So they are trying to raise such type of receipts, that means they are transferring ownership from government sector to private sector by selling shares, and they are trying to raise the funds so that they can reduce deficit. The major thrust has been now towards reduction in government expenditure. One side, by giving much importance for sale of shares, they are trying to raise the funds. On the other side, they are trying to raise the tax revenue through direct taxes. On the other side, if we consider reduction in expenditure, what they are doing, they are trying to reduce government expenditure. Or they can reduce the government expenditure by making government activities more efficient through better planning of program and better administration. When government is going to undertake its activities, if there is inefficiency and wrong planning and lack of administration or administrative system, then definitely the cost of maintaining all this and conducting government activities will be more expensive. So to avoid that one, so whenever you are going to implement government activities, proper planning must be there, and you have to do better administration, and automatically the efficiency is going to increase and the cost is going to decrease. A recent study of Planning Commission has estimated that, see here, good example for this. Okay, estimated that to transfer 1 rupee for poor people, government spends 3.6 rupees. So you have to find a form of food subsidies showing that cash transfer would lead to increase in welfare. Okay, form of food subsidies showing that cash transfer would lead to increase in welfare. So here government should change the scope of government by withdrawing from some of the area where it operates before. See here the vital areas like agriculture, education, health, poverty elevation. Government is spending a huge funds. Now it has to cut back the government programs in these areas so that the expenditure can be reduced. And government run a huge deficit eventually. For that purpose, what they have to do, they have to impose themselves self-imposed constraint not to increasing expenditure over predetermined level. If they decide to spend 10 crores means they should not spend more than 10 crores. While they are implementing, sometimes what happens, government expenditure will exceed this predetermined level. They have to impose themselves a heavy restriction not to cross predetermined level. We must note that large deficits do not always signify more expansionary fiscal policies. So here they say that always large deficit will exist not because of fiscal policies, expansion of fiscal policies. Sometimes because of economic status of a country will lead to large or small deficit. That means same fiscal measures, whatever the fiscal policies we are following, if we follow same fiscal measures, but it gives rise to large or small deficit which depends on state of economy. For example, when there is a recession in the economy, definitely GDP is going to fall. When GDP falls, tax revenue will fall because firms and households pay low taxes when they earn less. In this case, what happens? Revenue of the government will be less, but they have to implement regular fiscal policies. When they implement regular fiscal policies and revenue is less, that leads to increase in deficit. So during recession, deficit will increase and falls. Deficit will fall when there is a boom, even with no changes in fiscal policies. Dear students, if you like, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.